Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs. Hey, how you doing? It's me, Todd Novak. We are not having a normal podcast as we usually do, but this is a broadcast of the podcast that we did at the Columbus Podcast Festival. I'm going to say podcast as many times as possible. We did a live episode in front of a real live human audience, which was a first for us, and it was really fun, and I hope that we get to do more in the future. I wanted to give a special shout out to the people who put the festival together. That was Brian Donnie, Rob Thomas, William Mount, and Katie Thomas. And without them, don't know that it would have happened. We're really happy to be able to do this in Columbus. It's a small town, but it's jamming. It's got a great music scene. It's got a great art scene, and we're grateful that people are active and making things like this happen. So much thanks for them for having us on and running it and making us not look like total idiots as best they could. I mean, a lot of that's really up to us. So this is me, Jared Brandon, Mike Trombley of Red House Electronics, and Tony Dudzik, the Pick Guardian. And we're on stage having a good time. This isn't the normal length podcast, but it is it's a shorter one, but it's cool. You'll like it, I hope. And next episode, we will be back with a full-on, full-featured, full-length, full-frontal, normal Guitar Knobs episode. Thanks a lot for listening, guys. Hope you like it.
Welcome to the Guitar Knobs, the guitar podcast about guitars, gear, pedals, amps, and the noise they make. Our guitar world is filled with so many incredible, passionate, smart, and gifted makers and players whom the Guitar Knobs personally would love to meet and talk with. But they are not from the typical big companies we are all familiar with. They're from the super small, unique companies that are making a huge array of amazing things. Imagine they all must have great stories around why they are doing their thing. So Guitar Knobs, combined with their love of talking about guitars with friends and the opportunity to interview the people who are making, shaping, and playing the guitar world we are in, the Guitar Knobs podcast was born. Their goal is to provide great conversation, interviews, and a fair bit of nonsense for all of us guitar enthusiasts out there. Guys, let's bring them out to a warm round of applause.
Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs. These knobs. Hey, everybody, guys, thank you so much for being here. We do really appreciate it. We can't see actually anybody, which is comforting, but we can hear you, and that's also comforting. So, you heard our intro, and I referenced builders, and these are 3 local builders, and they are also knobs on the show. And today's show, we're not going to get super deep into the technical enthusiast world because everybody will probably get up and leave because they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But we are going to talk about some a couple important things. So I'm going to introduce down to the from left to right. Wait.
Yes.
Yeah, to my left.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. I'm Mike Trombley, owner and engineer at Red House Electronics, located in Troy, Ohio.
What do you make, Mike?
I make guitar pedals. So, when you go to a live show, those guys that are making noise, I'm behind that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good.
Jared Brandon. I own a small company called Brandon Wound Pickups. I make guitar pickups, and guitar pickups are basically they're electromagnets and they're custom made, and they go underneath the strings, and that's right. Thank you, Tony. And they pick up the vibrations, and they send all that and through the knobs, and then out of your amp. So what I do it starts with the string and the vibration, and then it goes through his thing and comes out the amp. That's what I do.
Excellent.
Been doing
Tony.
it about 10 years.
Tony.
I am Tony Dudzik. I own Pick Guardian Custom Pick Guards here in Columbus, and I take large pieces of plastic and make small pieces of plastic.
I should have brought my show and tell because you just made 2 custom ones for my Les Paul special, which are spectacular, and I can't wait to put them on.
Glad
my
you like
name
'em.
is Todd Novak. I'm the host, the main host, or the person who does all the hosty stuff. And I don't make anything, but I'm a super enthusiast and a longtime player. And so today, this is a half-hour show. We usually go for about an hour and a half, so we definitely had to try to squeeze it down a little bit. I wanted to breach the topic of what was the sort of first Holy Grail guitar and why? First Holy Grail guitar that you had to have and why? And so we're just going to discuss how that came about, what you did with it, did you get it, who inspired you, etc., and try not to run out of time because we'll probably get headlong into it. Got guitar players out there? Anybody?
Any
Yes.
musicians?
All right. Very happy.
You
and if
try?
you don't, just play along. It's great.
Yeah.
So
Just nod your head, yes.
yeah, Jared, go ahead.
Okay. Well, my dad was a guitar player, and my dad was my hero growing up.
Time's up, Mike.
All right.
All right, so my favorite guitar.
Go ahead, Jared. I am
Yeah.
so sorry.
So, what was I talking about?
Your dad.
So I wanted to be like my dad. So I saw old pictures, and he had a black Les Paul custom, and that's a black Les Paul Gibson, and it's got the gold hardware. And
For
it's got-
reference, tell the audience out here who might else play Les Paul custom
Robbie Krieger did in the Doors.
in the last 10 years, 20 years.
a
slash.
Well, I don't think I've seen him play one of those, but
Well, Les Paul, anyways. Let's
Yeah, that's
just
Slash,
generalize it to Les Paul. Okay,
All right.
so
And
think
this is
Slash,
the
that's
fancy
Les
version.
Paul.
So my dad had the fancy version, and yeah. So I wanted it because he had it, and he told me, he said, "Man, that's the best guitar I ever had because of the action when you press on the strings. The strings are so close to the fretboard, and it's just easy. It's like butter to play, So, of course, I wanted one of those, and
Did
so
you
I
get
got
it?
one. Yeah, I got one. I mean, actually, I found an American-made Gibson Les Paul custom while I was stationed in Korea because I served. So I found it there, and I traded in this double neck Epiphone Jimmy
You were
Page
doing
looking
modeling
thing.
in Korea? Is that? No.
Was that North or South Korea?
That'd be the South. So no, I was an MP over there in the Army, and there was one guitar shop that was close by, and that was it. And so I went there to familiarize myself with home because I didn't know what anything else said there because it's all, And I found it. It was like a 1979, and it looked just like the one my dad had. It was worn, it was played, and I loved it because of that. It
What
just
color
felt
was it?
so good. It was black. It was a black Les Paul custom.
Wow.
Those either came in black or white.
Right.
That was it.
Or Sunburst?
That's right, in the 70s. You're right. So I finally had it, and I think I pawned it off for some cash later on
To buy a new
I was
guitar.
poor.
Near and dear to your heart, clearly.
But
well,
but I
you
had
got
a-
it. That's cool.
But the one I really wanted was my dad's. So when I came home from the service and my brother was in college, and the guy that my dad sold his to back in the 70s,
Mm-hmm.
he was actually he saw my dad at some function at the college my brother was at because his daughter was going there too. So I said, Dad, call the guy up and see if he still has your guitar. I want your guitar. He did, and well, I don't know if he actually called him, but he said no, he doesn't have it. He probably just said that so he wouldn't have to buy that guitar from him. But anyway, that was my dream guitar. That is still probably my number one favorite guitar.
Anybody out there got Les Pauls?
Any Les Paul? Gibson Les Paul.
They all raise their hand. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. They cost a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
but-
This is a podcast. Yeah, this is a podcast.
Yeah, Mike, how about you?
All right, so my first one, I say first one because I ended up having a second one. And initially when I started I mentioned this on the old previous podcast, but like my parents got me like it was like some kind of Starcaster or something, you know, like one of those like Walmart guitars.
Right.
They got me one of those simple Walmart guitars, and I think the first song I learned was like a White Stripes song. And I was like, this is terrible, you know?
Which is ironic because that's actually he.
Yeah,
played one of them.
exactly.
Plays those airline guitars.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is terrible. This ain't a rocker's guitar, you know. This is a Walmart guitar. So I ended up, I went to Guitar Center, and I seen it there, and it was. I just wanted a Les Paul, you know, like every rock star had a Les Paul.
Does anybody
You know?
out there have Les Pauls?
Lots of hands.
Everybody
out
raise
there.
their hand
Yeah,
again. That's
We
amazing.
had 40 people raise their hands.
There's
and-
200 out there, just
Yes,
so that
I see 10 more people raise their
Yes.
hands back there. I didn't see that, but
one
um,
Strat guy.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna get to that. And so, anyways, we go to Guitar Center. I end up finding the guitar, like, you know, it was a Les Paul, and I was like, oh, dude, that's sick, you know. And it was a starter. It was like $300, but I say that like, you know, that's like cheap, but it was $300, and then I was like, I want that, and so I told my I told my stepdad, I was like, hey man, I was like, if you buy me that guitar, I'll start playing guitar, because I had the Starcaster, you know, it was just hanging out in my room, but then I was like, if you buy me that guitar, I'll start playing guitar. And so, of course, he was like, I'm not going to pay for it, you know. And I was like, well, I'll throw in half. So we threw in half. I got the guitar, but then I had to go onto a family trip the next day. And so I'm playing it at night, and then I go to put it on the stand, and here it ends up sliding off the guitar stand. It hit the entertainment center from my room, you know, or for the TV, and the headstock where all the, you know, tuners are, ended up cracking. So my dream guitar broke right in front of my face. So yeah, so that was, you know, just having my dream crushed right in front of me. That was beautiful. And then, but then I got home and, you know, returned it to Guitar Center after I got back from the family trip. And I played that for like 2 weeks, and then I was onto a new dream guitar, which is a guitar that I have now. Is a
The
Fender.
show's called "What Is Your Dream Guitar?"
Yeah, it just keeps going. Yeah, it's the Fender Stratocaster, which you guys probably know as like Jimi Hendrix's guitar. You know, I don't know, so many iconic people played it.
Ray Vaughan.
Oh, Stevie Ray Vaughan, yes.
There's a
Yeah,
couple
how could I forget?
guys out there.
Handful of them.
One
Yeah,
or two.
and yeah, so it was the Strat, and then I ended up, of course, throwing in money with my parents to get the get the Strat, and I got it a couple years ago and still have it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, if you like Strats. So,
I'm the only guy. Yeah. Apparently.
thank you
Yeah.
for that. That was enlightening.
Yeah,
I like 'em
And
too.
very
I like
touching
Strats.
story.
Tony,
Yeah.
Tony.
I'm a little bit older than these guys, but one of the first guitars that I remember ever saying, that's like the coolest guitar I've ever seen, was from old movies and old photographs of the Beatles. And the one most in particular was the George Harrison 12-string Rickenbacker. And that was just like my dream guitar to have. It started off this continuing sickness of buying 12-string electric guitars. I think I've got more 12-string electric guitars than many people, but
strings, man.
it's a lot of, yeah, they're fun to change too. But I finally I certainly couldn't afford one that was made in 1964 like George's, but I did find a reissue of his particular guitar probably about 5 or 10 years ago, and so that was kind of my dream come true. I just loved the look, the sound, and that's what I was all about.
What color was it?
It's a fire glow, or it's a sunburst. It goes from red to on the outside to natural on the inside. So
And that's a white pickguard, right? Or
yeah, George's had a white guard. Yep.
Now they went to black ones for a while, right?
Well, John Lennon always played a black, but he played a different model. It was a 325,
Right.
which is a smaller body. Blah blah blah. But John also played a Fire Glow one, but that's a different story.
Now that has a pretty skinny neck on it, doesn't it?
They can be difficult to play, and a lot of players don't like Ricks because what we call first position, the first 3 frets, it's very narrow at that end, and if you've got meat hooks like this, it makes it a little more difficult
You
to play.
said it.
Let alone 12 strings.
Yeah, 12
on
strings.
That tiny little.
Yeah.
Well, you can't miss.
Well,
Which is-
you can. Yeah, you can. I've done plenty of that.
Do you still have that guitar?
That is one that's in the permanent collection.
That's awesome.
Hey, for our listeners, what kind of music would you play with that guitar?
Very jangly music, so things like the Beatles, the Byrds,
Hey, Mr. Jamboree
REM.
Man.
And where's that you want to explain a little bit where the jangle comes from?
Well, it's because you've got on a 12-string
The
guitar.
answer is your heart, by the way.
Well, I think first you should explain the bands
Yeah.
for our young listeners.
So a 12-string guitar is basically set up that the first 4 strings, there's an octave string. So when you play one string, you essentially are playing 2 notes, same note. Yeah, there you go.
It's an octave.
I'm wasting my money on guitars. I could just bring Jared along, I guess.
Just tickle him. He'll go through all of them.
So you get kind of, it's this cascading sound. I mean, the probably the best example is the opening chord to A Hard Day's Night, which I'm sure almost everybody's familiar with.
By who?
And
Mr. Tambourine Man's a pretty close
the
second,
Beatles and Mr.
Oh, the
Tambourine
Beatles,
Man.
okay.
So it's kind of that
The Byrds.
it just has those high overtones. But unfortunately, now that I'm old enough to know that the myth is wrong, I used to think that was just George Harrison playing the 12-string guitar on that opening riff. Well, it turns out it was also George Martin playing the same note on the piano. So sometimes
crushed.
it's like everyone loves hot dogs, but no one wants to see how they're made. I
Right.
guess.
Perfect analogy.
Don't talk about that.
They'll talk about it.
So-
Todd,
Yes.
tell us about your guitar.
Oh, yes. I think that when I first got the Superbug and really got hooked on guitar and what this thing that I was going to chase would be, would have been seeing She Sells Sanctuary video way back from the Cult, and Billy Duffy, who was my early guitar hero. I learned to play listening to him, and he had this big, beautiful Gretsch White Falcon. And as a young lad, I could not possibly afford I'd never even owned a guitar, but I was like, okay, whatever this is, I got to do this. I need one of those, apparently. And I traded a skateboard for a really, really cheap, like a Walmart, Walmart type
Walmart,
guitar.
A Sears.
Sears guitar,
then,
yes, for the older folks. And and so I traded that, but
Wait, just a little backstory. That
Yes.
Gretsch guitar, how much is that?
now
Yeah,
that one,
yeah.
oh geez,
Because I know the White Falcon. It's like the Cadillac of guitars.
it kind of is.
How much would something
I mean,
Well, a new White Falcon is probably $3,000.
yeah, but are you talking
That's
about
all.
like the vintage
sure,
one from that
vintage,
year?
yeah, vintage
Ooh,
one.
I think
Vintage,
you're up in the
yeah.
7s or 10s probably.
Yeah, easily.
So my
um,
college tuition.
It's a car.
Yeah. Well, and he has his own signature models now, and they're mostly black, which are cooler. But anyways, at the time, I was like,
The
"Hey,
Black
that white
Falcon.
one, I want that." So I got a Sunburst guitar, a Sunburst Les Paul style, super cheap guitar, and promptly bought a can of spray paint. And
That's so punk rock, though.
well, I was a crafty kid, so I was like, "Well, all right, I'm just gonna. This can't be this hard, right?" And
Famous last words.
The funny thing about people who build guitars, they're called luthiers, and people who try to build guitars who don't call themselves luthiers, where they kind of stop is at the finishing part. most people, they're like, yeah, man, I built this. It's amazing. Yeah, but I sent it off for finishing because screw that. And finishing is just either the paint or the stain and the epoxy, or not the epoxy, but the poly over the top, and all of the buffing and polishing. And it's really easy to do wrong. And if you're doing a black one, forget about it.
I mean, you need to build a paint booth at home to do it right.
Well, I had my garage in a coat hanger, and that was working out just right.
And the weather's got to be right too, by the way.
But I did some cool taping off, and so I spray painted it, and I didn't know anything about paint at the time because I was really young and hadn't had a lot of experience. So I kept painting it because I was like, well, this is going to get shiny pretty soon. It must need more. So I kept putting it more and more on, and then I realized. I noticed on my friend's guitar, his kind of had this layer of not paint, and I was like, "What's this?" And it's all, it's clear coat. I got to go get some clear coat. So then I started spraying it with tons of clear coat. Well, clear coat turns yellow real quick if you do a couple of coats. And I was like, "No, my beautiful white guitar is turning yellowy." And so then I sanded it, but I sanded it too soon. So then it was like sanding rough, and it was awful.
Like sanding Play-Doh.
Yeah. So, anyways, I ended up with a really, really ugly white guitar that I still ended up learning how to play cult songs on. But
did you put stickers on it to cover that?
No, I didn't. But
I would.
Yeah, I don't know. So, anyways, that was my pretend Billy Duffy, up in my room by myself, and that's how I learned how to play guitar on a super crappy, spray-painted white piece of crap guitar. Anyhow, usually in our normal show, we have a couple of segments, and what's the time we got? What? We got 15? Holy mackerel.
Longer than we
This is
thought.
the long set.
So what was your second dream guitar?
Well, don't worry, we got plenty. So another aspect that we typically go through, we have a thing we do called Would You Rather, and that's when we just kind of go around and we produce a question and we get the information on why. So for this Would You Rather, I'm glad we had time because we did plan for this. I thought we'd go super long, so I've been watching my phone over here. But and all the questions from the audience has been delaying this. So,
How many Les Paul owners are there again?
Right.
all right. So the Would You Rather is going to be, drum roll.
Would
Okay.
you rather?
Yeah, with the effects, I like that.
That's right.
Would you rather have Tony's guitar?
Rickenbacker.
His
12-string.
I brought visual
his
aids
12-string
today.
Rickenbacker, or Mike's Hendrix style Stratocaster. Oh, good audience participation! I love
Yes.
it. Rickenbacker.
Pictures though. That's no fair.
Okay, so let's go around. Jared, what are you going with?
Oh, well, I've never owned a Rickenbacker, and I own about 5 or 6, 7, something like that, Strats.
Yes.
So I got to go to the Rickenbacker because I don't have one.
Yeah,
I got to go with it.
Because
I gotta
apparently
go with
he
it.
hates Strats.
yeah. Well,
I love Strats,
Yeah.
but I already have enough.
Oh, true.
I want a
Okay,
Rickenbacker.
I feel you.
okay, so
I'll
Mike,
go
you
with it.
can't pick your own guitar. So what would you rather?
I choose your punk rock guitar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Can I throw that in there?
that would actually be really cool. Yeah, you can throw that in there. That's
Nah, I'm fine. Actually, I really like the Rickenbacker.
Yeah.
I think it's a
I think
beautiful
it's a
guitar.
smart move.
Except for me, they can be hard to play though.
Why?
Everyone that I've played, the action's been terrible, but I probably didn't have the right person.
What's
set
up
it
with the shiny pick guard, too?
You mean the
What's up with
fretboard?
Yeah, I'm sorry, the fretboard.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Nah,
It's
that's
the
what they do.
'60s, man.
That's what they do.
So a highly polished maple fretboard
Rosewood. Finished rosewood.
on yours.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they all are.
Is it shiny, too?
Oh, yes.
Huh.
Oh, yes.
It's not common on a guitar. That's
Yeah.
why I brought that up.
Yeah.
Very dull. guitar.
Okay. Tony.
Well, Rickenbackers are an acquired taste, and they are difficult to play. They are sometimes painful as a live guitar. I have several, but because that was, of course, my first choice, I'm going to go with a Telecaster. What? The Telecaster.
Wait a minute, there was no Telecaster.
The workhorse. I don't even care.
What about the Strat?
I'm writing my own script here.
Can he not do the Strat?
I've got 15 minutes, and I'll tell you what.
I chose a hard playing guitar. Like
the Telecaster. Now, here's an interesting.
I'm picking
fact,
a bass then.
A little tidbit. A lot of bands who play Rickenbackers live, bands like REM. There's a lot. A lot of the recorded so-called Rickenbacker sounds that you hear are actually Telecasters being played in the studio. Telecaster is Leo Fender's first guitar. It came out in 1951. It is, in my opinion, the perfect guitar. It has changed very little. It is still being produced today. So that's the ultimate guitar to have. And that would be my choice.
Tommy Tedesco, he was the Wrecking Crew at in Los Angeles.
Yep.
That his Telly is on numerous albums, numerous bands.
Numerous.
Yeah,
I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, that's.
I gotta know though, Strat or Rickenbacker, no Telly.
I'll take the Rickenbacker over a Strat
Of course.
any day.
All right.
so many haters. So many haters. Except for our 20 Strat fans back there.
Hey, I own Stratocasters, man. I love them.
There you go.
Well, it's widely known on our podcast that I really can't stand a Stratocaster, so I'm going with the Rickenbacker too. But I love the idea of actually having a 12. I've never owned a 12-string, but I think it would be pretty fun to play with. I'm heeding your warnings about live situations, and the tunings kind of scare me. But yeah, that's a lot to deal with.
Well, when you have your Polytune, you'll be okay.
Yeah. That's a new pedal I got to get. Oh, we can go like way deep on stuff.
What's the first song you would play on a 12-string?
Oh, geez.
Anybody?
Tesla love song.
I don't even know. I'm not
Hotel
like a 12-string
California,
guy.
come
That's what
on.
I mean.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
forgot
good
about
choice.
that.
Yeah.
But that's so basic though.
It is, but that's the first thing you think of when you pick up a 12-string and you're a guitar player. Is the beginning of Hotel California.
Sure.
I don't think that.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently we didn't think that because that was.
And I was alive then too.
I'd probably go with.
Yeah.
I'd play.
Tony was like 50 when that song came out.
Oh, you're killing me.
Wish you were here.
No, I'd go My War, Black Flag.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that on a
Love you,
12-string.
Interesting.
Anyways, as we are wrapping up, I just wanted to give each of these guys just an opportunity to say a little bit about things that they're working on because, like I said, the show is we focus on builders. We interview builders from all over the country. We're branching out into the world. We are downloaded in over 80 countries now, and music is an international language, and it's coming through for us. So when we are interviewing makers, we usually get about an hour and a half with them, and that's how these guys ended up on the show. I actually found Jared at his Brandon Wound table at a guitar show, and he was standing there at this little tiny table. He's about 6'9", just in case you haven't seen him stand up. But
Flip the 9.
His arms are standing crossed, and I just went up to him and I said, "What's your deal?" And he's like, "Well, I make pickups," and I'm like, "Oh, well, I got a live one," and we became friends. And he's got a vast knowledge of classic guitars and classic rock music. And so he's a super valuable asset. And Mike Trombley, I ran into. I spent an awful lot of time on Instagram, and that's where sort of the guitar world blooms right now. And so I find a lot of anything I find interesting, I follow. And I don't mean follow by like, oh, I click follow, hey. I dig way deeper, and I try to find out what is this person or company about, who's behind it. And I like to focus on the people that aren't getting the spotlight necessarily, smaller builders who are making amazing things, like Mike Trombley. There's a lot of people out there who make guitar pedals. You can buy kits to make guitar pedals. He designs the circuitry to go into his guitar pedals, which is a really different thing, and is a wicked smart kid with some awesome products behind it. And so that's yeah. You want to say where they can check you out, and I'll hit you. Don't worry.
Yeah, you guys can check me out on redhouseelectronics.com. And then I got some YouTube videos up. I'm around in the Ohio area. Like I said, I'm based out of Troy, Ohio. So all my products though are handmade, hand designed. So everything from top to bottom.
And they're smart, which is a key factor. Jared.
No, I was just going to add. I really loved Mike's backstory. So if you ever have time to listen to his interview.
Yeah, I'll get to where they can get all that in just a second. Tony,
you didn't give me all the.
I'm working on it. I'm working on
love.
it.
Tony
has a little tiny shop.
This guy.
Tony's got a really tiny shop, and by I mean tiny, I mean it's literally the corner of an actual building.
It's right down the road.
It might be, and
it's full of magic though.
He makes pick guards, which is something that when you get a guitar, it's one of the first things you can do to actually just make it your own. And he does custom ones, which is unique. And he's been doing it a long time, and he does it very, very well and very quick. And he has a huge amount of knowledge about guitars and their all the history and the origins. And as you can, he rifled off a whole bunch of stuff that was that would typically fall in our normal podcast on the floor, because we'd be yakking about other stuff. But I'm glad you shared that with us. So where can they find you?
It's pickguardian.com. That's my website. But I'm, at Weber and High. That's where you really can find me.
But right next to the hot dog stand.
Yes.
Literally. And then, so if you want to listen to more of the Guitar Knobs, we are at theguitarknobs.com. theguitarknobs.com. And we're all over all of the social channels, typically, that you are all on. And we record right here in Columbus, Ohio. I love finding people that build in Ohio. I feel like Columbus and Ohio is kind of like this onion that I keep peeling. I'm not an Ohio native. I've only been here about 7 years, and I just love. I feel like the Huell Hauser sometimes of which he's a California. It might be lost on you guys, but anyways, he discovers things in the state, and I love the fact that I get to discover so much. So guitarknobs.com, you can listen to each one of these guys' podcasts, their interviews that we did with them. And I really appreciate you guys being here, and hope to talk to some of you. That's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go get some pizza.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit us at our website at theguitarknobs.com for episodes, news, and guest profiles. You can get all social with us on our Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/guitarknobs. Give us a tweet at guitar_knobs. And check out our gallery on Instagram at guitarknobs.